Welcome to the Mystery Snapshots of History, where the past holds more secrets than you ever imagined. Residents in Marseille stood watching as French military flags were packed onto ships headed to Africa. This took place in July 1940, shortly after German forces occupied France in May. A protest in the Bogside area of Londonderry, Northern Ireland, drew local crowds demanding civil rights and an end to imprisonment without trial. The photo was taken in 1971 during a period of heightened tension with authorities. Scandinavian Airlines presented a new flight attendant uniform design in Stockholm, Sweden in 1958. The outfit featured a shorter skirt and vivid color accents, aiming to modernize the airline's appearance. In 1968, civilians in southeastern Nigeria endured severe blockades and combat during the Biafran War. The conflict, which lasted from 1967 to 1970, claimed around 2 million lives. Many were children lost to hunger. Amid the Great Famine of 1877 in Madras, now Chennai, a man tried to protect his family from the worsening crisis. The famine was driven by extreme drought and British colonial policies that sharply reduced food availability. French aircraft dropped chemical gas on trenches in the Somme region during World War I. A dense cloud of chlorine spread for over a kilometer, forcing troops to shelter and breathe through wet cloths for protection. After the South Tower of the World Trade Center collapsed, what remained on the 14th of September, 2001, was its underground retaining wall known as the bathtub at Ground Zero. In Madrid, on the 20th of December, 1973, a powerful explosion launched Prime Minister Luis Carrero Blanco's car into the air. ETA separatists had detonated a tunnel under the road. The vehicle landed on Claudio Coelho Street. Following Berlin's fall in May 1945, Soviet troops posed with the Red Army's youngest officer, a 14-year-old lieutenant who had served as a battlefield messenger and earned recognition for his efforts. During the Cannes Film Festival in May 1975, Danish model Winnie Holman was photographed walking a runway near the Mediterranean coastline. Between 1930 and 1969, Indigenous children in Canada were placed in residential schools run by the government and churches. The policy separated them from their families and prohibited the use of their native languages. A courtroom in the Oklahoma Territory was filled in 1899 as dozens of men stood trial for participating in a group accused of violently killing Native Americans. Legal accountability at the time was uncommon. In 1949, during the First Indochina War, Viet Minh soldiers celebrate in front of burning ruins after capturing a French fortress in northern Vietnam. The battle involved artillery bombardments and coordinated ambushes. At a Beatles concert in Sydney in June 1964, a fan threw her special needs child toward Paul McCartney in an attempt to catch his attention. The event occurred during their Centennial Park tour. On the 17th of December, 1970, protesters in Gdansk, Poland set fire to the Polish United Workers' Party building during mass demonstrations against rising food prices. During the Battle of Little Bighorn on the 25th of June, 1876, Cheyenne warrior Buffalo Calf Roadwoman is credited with helping defeat Colonel George Custer's forces. Custer was notorious for ordering brutal attacks on indigenous communities and permitting violence against women. In Cairo, a street vendor offered ancient mummies for sale to tourists and collectors. The trade profited from human remains preserved through Egyptian mummification practices over 3,000 years old. During the 1871 Paris Commune, revolutionaries constructed barricades using carts and rubble. A long photographic exposure blurred the figures moving through the chaotic street scene. A Junkers Ju-87 dive bomber, known as the Stuka, was painted with a smiling face on its nose. The aircraft executed precision attacks and was equipped with sirens that emitted a high-pitched wail during dives. A man displays protective gear developed for British soldiers in World War I. The set includes a steel helmet, splinter-resistant goggles with narrow slits, and a gauntlet with an integrated steel dagger. Albina Mali-Hocevar is seen in military uniform after surviving her third injury during World War II. Originally from Slovenia, she joined the National Liberation Army in 1941 and fought across Yugoslav territories. A national lottery held on the 1st of December, 1969, in Washington, D.C., determined the draft order for military conscription. Capsules numbered 1 through 365 were drawn to represent birth dates throughout the year. Subway cars and platforms were packed with passengers during the evening rush hour on the 2nd of November, 1963, just hours before a major turning point in American history. Dutch resistance fighters celebrate in Amsterdam after hearing news of the German leader's death on the radio in May 1945, shortly following the European armistice. In Rome, 1957, actress Sophia Loren participated in a publicity photo session for a film project. By that time, she had already accumulated over 10 international film credits. In Glasgow, Scotland, 1868, photographer Thomas Annan documented the Venel, a narrow alley off High Street. His photo series aimed to expose the poor living conditions in the city's slums. A sign at the Bronx Zoo in 1963 labeled humans as the most dangerous animal in the world. The display was intended to promote conservation and raise awareness about human impact on the environment. On April 30, 1945, in Munich, Germany, US, Army Corporal Larry Matinsk offered cigarettes to civilians who had just been freed from a prisoner camp shortly before the end of World War II. President John F. Kennedy was served fettuccine Alfredo by Alfredo Di Lailio at the Alfredo restaurant in Rome. The visit occurred in March 1963 during a state visit to Italy. In Washington, D.C., September 1952, Richard Nixon was moved to tears after meeting General Dwight D. Eisenhower, not long after delivering his nationally broadcast Checkers speech. A political cartoon published in August 1000. 939-inch London and New York depicted Soviet leader Joseph Stalin and Nazi Germany's leader dividing Europe under the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. The illustration condemned the non-aggression treaty. A woman accused of collaboration during France's wartime occupation was photographed wearing a German army uniform. The image was discovered among the belongings of a captured German soldier after the town's liberation in the 1942nd. In 1917, the Swedish Army began using Husqvarna pistols manufactured by Husqvarna Vapenfabrik. The firearms were valued for their precision and durability in military use. In the 1952nd United States, a woman waits on a bus while holding her baby on her lap. She sits at the very edge of the seating space allowed under the segregation-era restrictions. At the Cincinnati Post Office on the 15th of April, 1917 days after the U.S. entered World War I, a notice was posted suspending mail delivery between the United States and Central Powers nations. A young boy walks along a dirt road in Appalachia, United States, with an owl perched on his shoulder. The image reflects the close bond between children and animals in rural America during the 1932nd. In 1908, travelers navigated the Satluj River in northern India using inflatable boats made from cowhide. Treated animal hides were sewn into airtight bags and inflated with air to create lightweight vessels. A U.S. soldier poses beside captured German weaponry during World War II. The photo was taken in Europe between 1944 and 1945 as Allied forces advanced across the Western Front. A group of school children at Morgan Hill School raises their right arms in salute to the American flag. The tradition was intended to instill patriotism and discipline in students. President John F. Kennedy is shown in an official portrait wearing a dark suit and tie. The photo was taken in the White House Oval Office in 1963. Kennedy had assumed office on the 20th of January, 1960, 1. As the 35th president. A Japanese samurai raises his sword in a combat-ready stance. His focused gaze and lamellar armor crafted from iron plates bound by silk cords are characteristic of the late Edo period. In a Los Angeles studio session in 1967, members of the Mothers of Invention and guitarist Jimi Hendrix pose for the album We're Only in It for the Money. The session blended psychedelic and experimental rock aesthetics. Elvis Presley performs during his August 1969 residency at the International Hotel in Las Vegas. Shows were held from Friday through Monday throughout the engagement. In early 20th century Toul, France, traveling knife grinders sharpened blades while lying flat on portable grindstones. They turned a hand crank to spin the stone and used rhythmic motions to maintain a consistent edge. A special anti-theft purse is demonstrated at a security expo in Montreal in 1963. Inventor Joseph Renfred designed the bag to release its contents when the strap was forcibly pulled. Between 1963 and 1965, a humanoid robot model was showcased at automation research centers. Mounted on a mannequin, the figure featured exposed piping and hydraulic cylinders that moved its limbs mechanically. The robotic figure, Freddy Ford, was displayed at the 1965 International Innovation Fair in New York. It used hydraulic valves and actuators to process spoken commands and respond with mechanical precision. Aerial refueling is demonstrated as one aircraft transfers fuel to another using a flexible hose. The planes maintained formation for over 15 minutes at speeds nearing 100 miles per hour. Photojournalist Margaret Burke White stands atop a New York City skyscraper to capture a panoramic image of the skyline. An anatomy professor uses a transparent skeletal model to teach students seated on low benches. The 1920 scene, set in a European medical school, shows the use of plastinated specimens for hands-on learning. Ski sailing combines skis with a sail to travel across snowy terrain. Invented in Austria in the 1922nd, the sport harnessed wind power to reach speeds up to 80 kilometers per hour. Ronald Reagan rides horseback on his ranch in Santa Barbara, California. The image was taken in 1981, the year he began his first term as President of the United States. Colonel Harlan Sanders stands inside a chapel in Louisville, Kentucky. His funeral took place on the 20th of December, 1980, and was attended by family members and close associates. A Unimate robot serves coffee during a demonstration at the General Motors plant in Ewing Township, New Jersey. The event occurred on the 7th of September, 1967, and showcased advancements in industrial automation. In Cannes, France, Arnold Schwarzenegger poses with dancers from the Folies Bergère. The meeting takes place in May 1977 during the Cannes Film Festival. People relax on a sunny lawn in New York's Central Park, sitting on picnic blankets and chatting. Families and friends gather beneath the shade of leafy trees. Liza Minnelli reclines in an armchair at Studio 54 after a performance. The Manhattan nightclub, which opened in 1977, became a popular venue for artists and celebrities throughout the 1982nd. Lumberjacks guide a massive stream of floating logs down the Hudson River at Glens Falls. This method of log driving was widely used in 1907 during the peak of the region's timber industry. A man considered the heaviest in Europe stands for a photo in a European city in 1955. Weighing around 575 pounds, or 260 kilograms, he drew public attention wherever he went. Three sisters pose in a studio portrait taken nearly a century ago. They wear typical 1922 attire, including cinched waist dresses and ribboned hair bows. The Lincoln Memorial is dedicated in Washington, D.C., to honor the president who abolished slavery. Designed by Henry Bacon, the structure features 36 marble columns representing Union states. At a rural American summer camp in 1956, teenagers practice archery before dinner as part of a youth outdoor program. In 1901, In Budapest, under the Austro-Hungarian Empire, a broadcaster delivers daily news via the telephone. Known as the Telefon Hírmondó, the service reached about 30,000 city subscribers. Bill Clinton and Boris Yeltsin observe the Hudson River Valley together. Their meeting occurs in September 1995 during an official visit aimed at strengthening diplomatic ties. Cassandra Peterson, known as Elvira, poses beside her customized 1958 Ford Thunderbird in Los Angeles. The photo was taken in 1965 after modifications by George Barris. In Cannes, France, Danish model Winnie Hullman poses for a photo shoot by Helmut Newton. The image was captured in Honolulu, Hawaii. Frank Sinatra studies his script for None But the Brave. Filming began in March 1965, using Pacific Island locations to recreate scenes of war. In London, United Kingdom, Princess Elizabeth serves as a mechanic in the Auxiliary Territorial Service in 1943. She joined the women's branch of the armed forces during World War II. A roadside gas station in Germany, photographed in 1958, represents the expansion of the fuel sector during the post-war economic recovery and rise in car ownership. A family exits a supermarket in a U.S. suburb around 1955. The image reflects the growing use of shopping carts and the rise of retail chain stores. In 1930, the Los Angeles Police Department began using motorcycles to improve traffic control and patrol response across the city. A craftsman in Cairo, Egypt, during the 1872nd, displays metal plates, ceramics, and embroidered fabrics at the entrance of his workshop. The image was taken using the wet plate collodion process, requiring long exposure times. In 1965, Pete's Super Submarines in a U.S. town features a storefront with custom slogans like "Love at First Bite," promoting submarine sandwiches. Bessie Coleman earns her pilot license in Paris in 1922. After being denied entry to American flight schools, she moved to France and learned the language to complete her training. Bran Castle in Romania is photographed in 1884. Often linked to the Dracula legend, the fortress was built starting in 1377 and features Gothic towers and fortified stone walls. In the early 1902, villagers in the remote Yenisei region of Russia haul a hunted moose across an icy river. They use makeshift sleds and ropes to balance the animal's weight, estimated at over 440 pounds. Christian Dior's February 1947 fashion show introduces a dramatic new silhouette with full skirts and cinched waists. Spectators in the Rue Montaigne salon in Paris touch and tug at the fabrics worn by models. On May 27, 1937, the Golden Gate Bridge opens to the public. Instead of a ribbon, officials cut a silver chain as more than 30,000 people cross the span in dense morning fog. The first post-war class at Moscow State University gathers on the 1st of September 1945. The ceremony marks the return of academic life and is attended by more than 500 people. In the late 1962, King Faisal of Saudi Arabia visits the Royal Palace in London. The trip includes a welcome ceremony and private meetings with Queen Elizabeth II, strengthening Saudi-British relations. In New York, a demonstration shows the double-ender, a reversible bridge system that enables teams to quickly span gaps from either side of an obstacle. A mechanical spoon is designed in 1955 to assist people with limited hand mobility. Using built-in gears and sensors, it automatically adjusts the handle's angle to ease eating. A father and son observe the launch of Apollo 11 at Cape Canaveral on the 16th of July, 1969. As the Saturn V rocket lifts toward the moon, loudspeakers broadcast the countdown to the crowd. Since 1942, a U.S. government tea panel reconvenes to establish minimum standards for imported teas. Their criteria include flavor, aroma, and tannin content to ensure consistent quality. In Mexico City, Fidel Castro and Che Guevara are detained in June 1956. Authorities suspect them of carrying materials to support the Cuban Revolution before they set sail on the yacht Granma. Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix performed together in May 1967 at the Savile Theatre in London. Their improvisational set includes solos using a wah-wah pedal and experimental distortion. During the Apollo 17 mission on the 13th of December, 1972, astronaut Harrison H. Schmitt examines a large boulder on the lunar surface at Taurus Littrow. Al Pacino and Robert De Niro attend the premiere of The Godfather Part 2 on the 20th of December, 1974, in Manhattan, New York City. In Memphis, Tennessee, a fan captures a self-portrait with Elvis Presley in 1968. By that time, Presley had become a record-breaking music icon.